Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Mazaiza.
Sonia, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mario. Thank you.
Sonia, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Thank you, Mario.
Recording in progress.
The House Chairperson.
There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. The secretary will read the first order of the day.
Debate on 9th BRICS Parliamentary Forum.
The Honorable Mahoma Pilo is requested to take the podium.
Honorable House Chairperson, esteemed honorable members of the House, sons and daughters of our African kings and queens. Future history is a consequence of our singular and collective actions of today. Past history has got an inherent dialectical relationship with what we do today in order to shape our future tomorrow. Karl Marx invested a lot of labor of intellect to analyze political developments. He called upon thinking people of the world to embark on the tasks of challenging and changing the world because philosophers had already analyzed the world. It is partly in this context, honorable members, as Karl Marx has said, that we have this debate on BRICS Parliamentary Forum today because we seek to contribute to what he said is the responsibility to change the world. Karl Marx did not issue an instruction that seeks to impose a responsibility on us to change the world unthinkingly. He knew that in the tasks of changing what philosophers had already philosophized about, we require the necessary investment and application of the labor of intellect, as he sought to do. BRICS, as a phenomenon of human development, is a product of the application of the labor of intellect itself. Its first meeting was held in Moscow in Russia in 2015. We can refer to this important two political developments as the epoch-making necessary cross-pollination of ideas. It is done in the context of what the people's unrelenting discipline of the left, the ANC, has consistently characterized as the need to build a better Africa and a better world. This better Africa and a better world which the ANC seeks to build is embedded within the BRICS Plus phenomenon and forms part of what Karl Marx had envisaged as the need to change the world. Brazil, Russia, China, and South Africa will now become BRICS Plus when it includes Egypt, Argentina, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, UAE.
Honorable Supra. Mayor Bridget Pamela, could you please check your gadget? Please mute. It's so consistent. Thank you, Honorable Member. Can go ahead.
Can I proceed, Honorable Chair? Thank you very
Honorable
much.
Member.
BRICS, Brazil, Russia, China, and South Africa will now become BRICS Plus when it includes Egypt, Argentina, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates in January 2024. Among other things, this will then mean that there will now be 10 parliament member states of the BRICS. The implications in this regard will include ongoing evaluation and impact assessment by the BRICS Plus on the following issues. One, it will be economic, geopolitical, strategic, and political advantages, the energy exploitation for survival of humanity. 3, easy trade among these countries. 4, ease of movement of people to people relations. 5, currency enhancement through trade among the nations. 6, collaboration in the United Nations issues. 7, growing population moving towards half of the globe. And 8, approximately 38% of expected GDP globally will be one of the implications. In the necessary course of cross-pollination of global ideas, the BRICS Parliamentary Forum was born, as we have indicated. In September 2023, the BRICS plus nations reaffirmed their commitment to the spirit of mutual respect, solidarity, sovereign equality, democracy, openness, inclusivity, collaboration, and consensus. The BRICS Parliamentary Forum also reiterated the same commitment. It is a forum born out of objective reality that its members do not seek political homogeneity, but political heterogeneity. The political systems within BRICS, for example, on oversight, as a function of delegated responsibility to parliaments by society, is not a common thread among the BRICS member states. Win-win, which is a consequence of confluence of ideas, is one of the strategic methods employed. We are acutely conscious of the reality that what we have collectively agreed to pursue and achieve as BRICS Parliamentary Forum is not and cannot be achieved under conditions of our choice nor liking. The BRICS genesis and evolution takes place within a protracted geopolitical struggle. In this geopolitical protracted struggle, economics for the sake of BRICS people becomes one of the fundamental imperatives. Recently, in South Africa, in September the 26th to 28th, the BRICS Parliamentary Forum held its 9th gathering, and among others in the declaration, postulated on the following issues. 1, to intensify the multilateralism dialogue among the lawmakers, work towards building a multipolar world, intensify more civil society participation, intensification of women in leading society across the BRICS countries. Going forward, a question might arise as the BRICS evolution unfolds, to the effect that why, because we are one of the pioneers of Pan-African Parliament, why are we not championing a possible idea of BRICS becoming BRICA? This, among other things, it can be argued, it will assist Africa to participate and act as one within the BRICS plus nations. BRICA plus will make it more difficult for Western countries to continue dividing the African continent as they have been doing for many decades. BRICA plus will better enhance the now adopted African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which Honorable Makubela will reflect more upon. It could be argued, Chairperson, also that possible BRICA plus will accelerate the idea which people like Marcus Garvey, brother leader Gaddafi, among others, had postulated of having Africa as one single united country, possibly with independent states. Should this be achieved through BRICS plus initiative, it will, among other things, mean that within BRICA plus countries, we will be having 3 of them, which is Africa, China, India, with a population of over 1 billion each one of them. We can all agree that the African Union takes us closer to this important objective of reversing what Berlin Conference of 1884-85 initiated by people like King Leopold II of Belgium and Bismarck. This development is important because noble efforts such as BRICS plus countries is being criticized by the offsprings of our former colonizers of the Western countries. As Kwame Nkrumah said, open quote, "Unite we must without necessarily sacrificing our sovereignties we can forge a political union based on defense, diplomacy, foreign affairs, common currency, monetary zone, and a common currency, close quote. Let the BRICS Plus phenomenon change the world to eternity. We have to bequeath to future generations a better Africa and a better world as a disciplined force of the left, the African National Congress is committed to. Ke a leboha.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mapelo. The Honorable Chetty.
Greetings, Honorable Chair members. If anyone wanted proof of how South Africa under the ANC government has deviated from an ethical foreign policy based on the principles of democracy, human rights, and a rules-based international order, the 9 BRICS Parliamentary Forum held in Johannesburg provided the answer. The ANC's complete disregard for professionalism, timekeeping, and organization, combined with underwhelming representation from several key member countries, has rendered the forum little more than an anti-Western propaganda talk shop. While in the company of some of the world's worst human rights defenders, from Russia to Iran, the ANC failed to show its backbone in projecting the democratic values and respect for the sanctity of human rights enshrined in our Constitution. Instead, what we saw was the festival to share messages of solidarity with warmongers and human rights violators. The ANC was happy to stand by while Russia and Iran rubbished South Africa's important allies in the West, unbothered by how our tenuous diplomatic and trade relations with the West have become. The ANC government has continued down a path of excusing the behavior of rogue states that have upended international peace and infringed on the rights of their own citizens. For a country that held so much of promise after 1994, the ANC has relegated South Africa to the periphery of global affairs and reduced us to an inconsequential player in the international affairs. How did we lose our global celebrated international standing, one may ask? The answer is simple. It's not an event, but a process. From the policy of quiet diplomacy against Zimbabwe's brutal dictatorship, aiding and abetting.
Honorable Chetty, could you please take a seat as a point of order? The Honorable Papa, you have your hand up.
House Chair, I wanted to check whether the member will take a question on his right-wing views.
Honorable Chetty, will you take a question?
No, Chair.
Honorable Chetty, will you take a question from Mr. Papa? No. Please proceed, Honorable Chetty.
Thank you, Chair. How did we lose our global celebrated international standing, one may ask? The answer is simple. It was not an event, but a process. From the policy of quiet diplomacy against Zimbabwe's brutal dictatorship to aiding and abetting the escape of a wanted war criminal in the person of Omar al-Bashir, the decline of South Africa's international structure took root. We became a country that stood in solidarity with despots while turning our back on global alliances invested in peace and human progress. When the ANC chose to pursue its unprincipled doctrine of non-alignment on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the ANC's aggression policy had gone full circle. That was a moment that the ANC government extinguished any lingering hope of South Africa ever retracing its steps back into a value-based foreign policy. But in all of this regression, the DA has remained committed to a foreign policy centered on the rule of law and zero tolerance to those who violate human rights. Nowhere has the DA demonstrated this kind of resolve than on Vladimir Putin's visit to South Africa that never materialized. Much noise was made by the ANC pre the BRICS summit, claiming that no one will stop the Russian president from attending the BRICS summit in person. This false sense of bravado by the ANC was a flimsy attempt to keep up appearances against the DA's determined resolve to enforce the ICC warrant of arrest against Putin. Fortunately for Putin, he chose to heed the DA's warning and join the summit via Zoom. The DA was not going to allow the ANC to get away with another al-Bashir shenanigan. The DA defended South Africa's international obligation under international law and won. When the ANC carried on with its ruinous support for Putin, the DA had to go on an international damage control campaign to preserve our most important relationship and protect South Africa's economic interest. We made representation before the US Congress to fight for the country's continued membership of AGOA, and we engaged the diplomatic community in Pretoria to assure them that the majority of South Africans did not support the ANC's kamikaze foreign policy in the absence of solid trade agreements and tangible results from our BRICS membership. And with the inclusion of new members with which we share no values or principles, there is seemingly little benefit to the South African state in BRICS other than political prayer for the ANC. This is a dangerous way for our country to conduct its foreign policy and a worrying development for our country's founding principles of freedom, human rights, democracy, and equality. If the ANC's plan is to destroy our important international alliances, we have to tell them that it will not work. The DA will not allow it. While the ANC engages in useless talk shops like the BRICS Parliamentary Forum, the DA will pursue the serious business of building partnerships that will grow our economy and create jobs for our citizens. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chetty. EFF.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. So the BRICS Parliamentary Forum is a platform of members of parliament from BRICS countries, which from 2010 is comprised of the countries of the Federative Republic of Brazil, the Russian Federation, the Republic of India, the People's Republic of China, and the Republic of South Africa. BRICS currently accounts for 31% of the global gross domestic product, 41% of the global population. And it is a significant voice in regional and global politics and economic affairs. The 15th BRICS Summit held here in South Africa in August 2023 resolved to invite the Federal Republic of Ethiopia, the United Arab Emirates, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Republic of Argentina, the Arab Republic of Egypt, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to form part of a progressive group of countries in pursuit of common economic, financial, social, and political cooperation and prosperity. These countries were also invited to join the BRICS Parliamentary Forum, which took place in September 2023 in the city of Ekurhuleni in Gauteng province. Like the 15th summit, the BRICS Parliamentary Forum dedicated majority of the discussions and deliberations on matters relating to the development of the African continent. We wish to highlight some of the resolutions of the BRICS Parliamentary Forum, particularly from the commissions that we were assigned to preside over. The BRICS Parliamentary Forum emphatically resolved that any engagement, action, or initiative by BRICS in relation to trade must unequivocally adopt a stance of anti-imperialism and anti-colonialism, ensuring that partnerships are formed on the basis of mutual respect, equality, common prosperity, and shared benefit. This is paramount to building trust and fostering equitable and sustainable relations. The BRICS Parliamentary Forum further resolved that the African countries, through their various parliaments and legislatures, must develop legislation to impose quotas on the export of natural resources and instead focus on promotion of local beneficiation and industrialization of the African economy. The African countries must develop legislation to combat illicit financial flows and aggressive tax avoidance, and we must deepen our relationship within BRICS to fight against aggressive tax avoidance and illicit financial flows, with parliaments playing a central role in endorsing legislation and playing oversight role to ensure implementation. The BRICS Parliamentary Forum further supported the development of an integrated energy and electricity plan to maximally and optimally harness Africa's vast energy resources, including hydroelectronic potential, natural gas, and clean coal, to find independent African solutions to energy challenges. The BRICS Parliamentary Forum also supported the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and said that it must not be just a conduit for the free trade of imported goods through African trade corridors, but African countries trading goods and services amongst themselves. And that the further resolution that came was to support and to endorse the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, that all African countries and central banks should be in pursuit of a single currency for ease of enhanced African trade. What then becomes the role of parliaments or South Africa's parliament in the BRICS Parliamentary Forum? Number one is that as South Africa's parliament, we should in each 5-year term choose a permanent delegation that is going to represent South Africa in all BRICS Parliamentary Forums. In the same way, we choose a delegation that represents South Africa in the Pan-African Parliament and the SADC Parliamentary Forum. Because the phenomenon and practice done mostly by the ruling party of chopping and changing delegations to BRICS Parliamentary Forum, even to other platforms like the Interparliamentary Union, erodes the consistency and institutional memory, which in return weakens South Africa's delegation and participation in these important international platforms. So South Africa's parliament must take into serious consideration all the resolutions of the BRICS Parliamentary Forum, like starting with the upcoming BRICS summit that will take place in the Russian Federation in 2024. The BRICS Parliamentary Forum must have a delegation of all members of parliament from all the BRICS plus 6 countries to form part of the plenary discussions in the BRICS summit so as to ensure a seamless integration on areas that the BRICS Parliamentary Forum must conduct oversight and guide legislation on. And that all BRICS countries should agree to form an official caucus on the sidelines of the Interparliamentary Union assemblies that take place every 6 months so as to consolidate the perspectives of all the BRICS plus countries. The immediate agenda that must be pursued purposefully by BRICS should include the removal of the dollar as the dominant currency of global trade in the global economy. BRICS countries must unapologetically take an anti-imperialist and anti-colonial, anti-neo-colonial stance in approach to all the global politics.
Honorable
Shivambu,
unfortunately, your time is up.
Under neocolonialism. We say as the economic freedom fighters that South Africa's parliament should continue to have meaningful impact and contribution in all the BRICS parliamentary forums. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, member. A member from the IFP.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, we are currently witnessing the genesis of a new era of collaboration as BRICS has evolved from a concept to a practical alliance since its establishment in 2009. This alliance has extended its cooperation beyond abstract multilateralism, actively engaging in peace, security, technology, trade, market expansion, and infrastructure development. However, right at the outset, I would like to say, as far as the IFP is concerned, Honorable Chairperson, BRICS is not an alternate multilateral platform for any other platforms that we have as South Africa and Africa. So when I heard Honorable Mamapelo saying that, well, we want to show the West that we can do A, B, and C, I think that's a wrong start for us. We want to increase our ability to trade with as many countries around the world and have cooperation with them. And this is how we see BRICS having been formed. As we heard, we recently hosted the 9th Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa Parliamentary Platform in Gauteng. And we all know what the theme was. And yes, indeed, Honorable Chairperson, it was a showcase because it showcased the growth of partnership, which is likely to expand further with 6 invitations extended to other nation states ranging from South America to the Middle East. And I think what is important here is the diverse cultures, backgrounds, economic backgrounds that all of these countries come from. And certainly we can learn from that, from their own independent situations in their countries. But having said that, Honorable Chairperson, I feel as South Africa and as the BRICS Forum Committee in South Africa, we could have done much, much, much better. Yes, it was a showcase. We went there, we met people from other countries, but as South African delegation, we were not prepared. We should have had an opportunity to discuss the resolutions. We should have had meetings even before we got there. So we as South Africa knew exactly what we were talking about. It is unfortunate that sometimes when we go to an international forum as a country, we find that we start differing with each other. And I hope that the administrators and particularly the speaker will take note of this so that we all get involved prior to such conferences. Chairperson, for South Africa to grow, develop, and heal the wounds of the past, it is crucial to strengthen ties and interactions within both BRICS and the BRICS Parliamentary Forum. Such strategic partnerships have the potential to transform not only South Africa, but also member countries for the betterment of our respective peoples. We, Honorable Chairperson, have for far too long relied on government, South African government, to lead the BRICS agenda. Now, with this BRICS Parliamentary Forum, we need to be active as a parliament moving forward so that we could ensure that there's legislation in place that will support the initiatives and the goals of these BRICS countries. And unless we do that in terms of climate change, economic legislation, things like that, then we won't get anywhere. So I think it's very important that parliamentarians need to come together to foster and promote the aspirations of all the BRIC countries as we move forward. And as I said, what is interesting about BRICS, it's a diverse alliance. And what gives us hope is the voluntary willingness of BRICS members to set aside their differences in pursuit of the greater and common good for our nations and citizens. But I really want to reiterate, Chairperson, this BRICS forum is not a replacement for any other multilateral body that we may have. We need to be open to trade with anybody around the world as long as it benefits our people and benefits our country. So we will support our BRICS membership here and the activities that took place. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. The Honorable Briet.
Thank you, Chair. If my time can just be corrected. Thank you, House Chair. The 9th BRICS Parliamentary Forum was held in South Africa with all the BRICS Plus members in attendance. The topic was in broad terms, strengthening relations by promoting multilateralism. It should have been a place where parliamentarians could interact with one another, share ideas, and strengthen relations. The first day was relatively well attended by all, but by close of business, it seemed as if the only country really interested in strengthening relations amongst member states was South Africa. The rest of the forum was also badly attended by other BRICS countries. It was a real shame. The positive in this, however, is that it created an environment where the multi-party South African delegation had an opportunity to interact with one another, share insights, and discuss different policies. It was, in effect, a workshop for South Africa on a way forward for South Africa. Wat kenmerkend was van die tweede dag se besprekings is die gefokuste aandag op China op die Afrika-kontinent. Hulle het gereeld hulp aan die ander, kleiner, minder gevestigde ekonomieë van Afrika aangebied. Collega's, dit moet in die lig gesien word waarin dit aangebied is. As ons dink dat hulle gaan doeteenvoudig help sonder om iets in ruil te verwag, dan maak ons 'n bitter groot fout. Ek sê hierdie uit ervaring van waar China al in Afrika hulp verleen het en waar dit slegs tot China se voordeel was. Ek dink plaaslik aan die Gariep visstelery in die Vrystaat, 'n 190 miljoen rand visstelery wat in onbruik staan omdat die toerusting nie geskik is vir Suid-Afrika se omstandighede nie. Die vis is nie inheems nie en dit kan die nabygeleë dam vervuil. En in ruil daarvoor het China mynregte in die Vrystaat gekry. Ek dink verder aan ons buurland Namibië en die grootskaalse opgradering van die Walvisbaai hawe. Daar was sekere voorvereistes soos vir China om die kontrak te kry, soos onder andere om plaaslike werkers te gebruik en om 'n vaardigheidsoordrag daar te stel. Daar is min tot geen plaaslike werkers gewees en hulle is bloot vir goedkoop arbeid gebruik. So kan ons aangaan en na die hoofweë van Zanzibar en Mauritius kyk en vra wat het China in ruil vir daardie paaie gekry. Ons moet ook as Suid-Afrika en die kontinent van Afrika waak daarteen om 'n afsetgebied vir oortollige produkte van ander BRICS-lande te wees. Hierdie lande doen dit onder die voorwendsel van gedeelde belange en samewerking as gevolg van BRICS. maar Suid-Afrika is sterk daarheen op pad om ons suikerriet en pluimveeboere te versaak ter wille van suiker en hoender uit Brasilië. 'n Ooreenkoms help nie as dit ten koste van ons eie mense geskied nie. What is also quite puzzling and troubling is the close proximities with countries such as Iran. For a country as South Africa that values human rights and women's rights as a priority, to be seen mum about human rights violations in Iran is really worrying. Verder rig die ANC se gefaalde buitelandse beleid ongekende skade aan Suid-Afrika. Die ANC se voortdurende gekruip voor die muishonde van die wêreld doen meer kwaad as goed. Deur met die muishonde soos Rusland en Hamas te simpatiseer, is ons besig om 'n reuse vyand van die Weste te maak, 'n vyand wat ons nie kan bekostig om te hê nie. Ons is byna reeds uit die AGOA-ooreenkoms geskryf en hierdie ondeurdagte optrede gaan geweldige implikasies, onder andere ekonomiese gevolge vir ons inhou. Suid-Afrika was nog altyd een van die leiers op die Afrika-kontinent. Ons kan nie bekostig om ondeurdagte aksies toe te laat om onsself uit daardie posisie te skryf nie. Ons kan nie toekyk hoe ander BRICS-lande ons en ons kontinent blinder nie, maar ek sluit af. I want to commend all the presenters, the chairpersons and rapporteurs for the South African delegation that had important roles to play during the two-day forum. You were all professional and well prepared. Soos ons in Afrikaans sê, julle het heel goed van julle taak gekwyt. Ek dank u.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. A member from the ACDP. Honorable Kwangwa.
Chairperson, thank you very much. BRICS.
Honorable Kwangwa.
All right.
The hand of Honorable Papa is up. Honorable Papa, what are you rising on?
I think I wanted to ask the member whether he'll take a question, but I think it's not relevant anymore because he has already finished.
Okay, thank you very much. You may proceed, Honorable Kwangwa.
BRICS, thank you, Chairperson. The BRICS bloc remains an important politico-economic body which was formed mainly due to the outcome of the geopolitics of the global governance. It was mainly, among other things, to create a multipolar world, as already cited earlier, and to balance against the hegemony and the dominance of the West in particular and the United States of America on global affairs. That we cannot shy away from because it's necessary in order for us to create a multipolar world. It is a no-brainer that being a member of BRICS has enhanced South Africa's position and influence as an important emerging economy, continentally and globally. That is why we disagree with the notion that we must undermine our own national interests and dilute our national interests by making BRICS too unwieldy and too big a body. By including the entire African continent, the view of the UDM is that Africa as a continent should be represented, should have a representation somewhat in the BRICS forum so that we are able to structure how BRICS in particular as a bloc interfaces with the rest of the African continent, including how BRICS countries can benefit from the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. To suggest that we must have a BRIC and then Africa 54 countries or all countries in the sub-Saharan Africa, you are going to have too big a bloc that you cannot be able to manage, or even that would be too bureaucratic to be able to be effective on any of the issues that it seeks to champion. The issues of economic integration and how BRICS countries in their totality can be able to benefit from the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is something that the African continent, led by South Africa, should be able to fine-tune and champion so that we do not treat BRICS countries the same way that we treat other countries who do not have formalized relationships with the African continent. The other issue is if we leave it to chance, then you are going to continue to have this popcorn syndrome. Any BRICS countries would actually trade with any country in accordance with whatever terms. But if we're able to standardize it, how BRICS countries in particular trade with the African continent, we are going, Africa will be the winner. The other issue which we feel is important is that the BRICS Parliamentary Forum, I was part of the BRICS Parliamentary Forum when it was established in 2015 in Russia. But unfortunately, even now, when we are talking about the 9th BRICS Parliamentary Forum, which was held in South Africa, there is no institutional memory of what other resolutions were taken in the past and what happened to those resolutions, because it is only now that the BRICS Parliamentary Forum is being formalized, because all that it did up until this point was to meet on the sidelines of some or other gathering. And Honorable Shivambu is right. The fluidity where one gathering, some groups attend, another gathering, it destroys institutional memory. There's no consistency. There is no follow-up on the decisions taken in the past. As a result, it is as if the 9th BRICS Parliamentary Forum, in inverted commas, was the first one, because we couldn't track the progress made so far.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
The Honorable
Ukalile Thole.
Honorable Kwankwa. Siabong. A member from the ATM. NFP. Honorable Imam.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Let me welcome the BRICS Parliamentary Forum that took place in Gauteng a while ago. In fact, I think it created an opportunity for BRICS countries to come together to build relationships and get a better understanding of where we are in the world and where we want to take this world to. If you consider some of the statements that have been made by President Putin recently, very progressive indeed. And I know some friends in this house of mine have a sense of fear whether the BRICS initiative will become so big and successful, then oppression, chaos, mayhem, division, regime change will be a thing of the past. And that's what they don't want. They want the West to control, like the late former leader Muammar Gaddafi said, you know, this continent, the African continent, one of the richest continents in the world, don't control anything. It's controlled by the West. So some people want to continue to sustain and hold us ransom and hostage. And we've seen that, of course, with the AGOA agreement in any case. Either you toe the line. If you don't want to toe the line with their atrocities, okay, then of course they want to pull out of AGOA. But we have seen that. But I like some of the things that President Putin has said. And one of the things I would love us to do is pull out from the World Health Organization. Pull out from the World Health Organization. That's a puppet organization like the IMF and the World Bank for these West, because they want to control. You know, you go back to what Bishop Desmond Tutu once said, that the missionaries and the colonialists brought the Bible. They left the Bible in Africa, but they took the land away. This is how devious and crooked these people were, but be that as it may. But but indeed, this is basically what it is. But the BRICS initiative, once strengthened with as many countries as possible, look at what President Putin, once again, social upliftment, everyone having equal status, no dominance by one over the other, okay? No greed for somebody else's resources, which is what is happening. What is happening in Gaza right now is because of the gas. That is what it is all about. They are after stealing that, after what they stole all over, everywhere else. The new development bank, just look at it, 80 investment projects thus far with over $30 billion that have been spent. So it can only benefit the South Africa as a whole, but more importantly, I think all the BRICS nations. So I think we as South Africa must support this. It's a great initiative. And for the first time, I think you might have a better world where there's no dominance by one over the other. But ultimately, we must get rid of the World Bank, have an alternative for all these institutions that are puppet institutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Imam. From the ANC, the Honorable Makubela. Michelle?
House Chairperson, honorable members, Sanbonan. The emergence of BRICS brought hope for the region's long suffering and the effects of underdevelopment. BRICS continues to achieve global importance for its agenda, but needs to sustain its relevance to development, mentorship in pursuits, enhancing and improving global governance through promoting a more agile, efficient, representative, democratic and accountable international multilateral system. Honorable members, South Africa's foreign policy is deeply rooted in multilateralism. The African agenda and the deepening of cooperation amongst nations of the global South and dialogue with the North, it is within this policy paradigm of concentric circles that the idea of a prosperous South Africa and a prosperous Africa is rooted. In 2009, and at its inaugural summit in Russia, BRICS spelled out its reform and developmental agenda. Its reform agenda sought a more equitable, fair, and democratic global governance system. This improved multilateral system would have the United Nations at its center, drive the reform of the global financial system and its institutions, and mobilize the global community towards development, particularly that of the less developed regions within the world. The partnership in our view, as South Africa represents a significant shift towards multilateralism, international relations, and offers various opportunities to members, countries, and other developing states. BRICS exemplifies this shift, and it stands as a challenge to the dominance of the Western powers in global affairs. It emphasizes the importance of multilateralism in addressing global challenges, including economic issues, security concerns, and the environmental problems that we are confronted with. Greater cooperation and development among BRICS nations is more evident in reforming the international financial architecture. The new development bank established by our BRICS countries provides an alternative source of financing for infrastructure and the sustainable development of projects within member countries and other developing countries. By promoting trade, investment, and financial cooperation, BRICS reduces dependency on the Western dominance financial institutions and fosters economic growth amongst member countries. The South and South cooperation is a critical aspect in encouraging cooperation and collaboration among developing countries through an exchange of opportunities of knowledge sharing, technology transfer, and capacity building. For the African continent and South Africa, the defining economic challenge of our generation is and will be industrialization, to find ways to grow more industries, grow greener economies, and grow innovatively. And this is provided with opportunities within the BRICS and BRICS Plus nations. In giving practical expression to our BRICS partnership, South Africa and China both participate in each other's trade exhibitions. China invested about 116 billion in South Africa between 2013 and 2019, creating an estimated amount of 5,000 jobs. There is further extensive support for development in our special economic zones. Honorable members, we are also working with Chinese authorities to address instances of custom fraud and under-invoicing. There is a few examples which the BRICS partnership has brought to the South African economy that necessitated mutual exchanges within our world trade system. The expansion of BRICS to include oil-rich countries such as Saudi Arabia, the Arab Emirates, and Iran gradually reduces the dependency and the power on the US dollar globally and its dominance. That in itself presents an opportunity for the de-dollarization model or aspect. Honorable members, given South Africa's current energy crisis and the need for foreign direct investment to stimulate growth, an expanded BRICS will be part of the solution to some of South Africa's current political and economic challenges. We must be able to enhance and foster these partnerships. We owe it to the future generation to make BRICS partnership work, and we owe it to the African continent to share in the ideas of a BRICS where all African nations will
Thank
be
you very
part
much,
of the
honorable member.
progressive
Time is up.
nations. Thank you.
Cope. PAC. The Honorable Hendricks Al-Jamal.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, the Parliamentary BRICS Forum was well organized by our parliamentary staff, and Al-Jamal wishes to thank them for a job well done. I assisted the Speaker and the Council of the Deputy President to welcome at the airport a delegation of members of Parliament of Iran and Egypt, and I was on standby to welcome MPs of the Majlis of Saudi Arabia. BRICS is now becoming the voice of the streets and not just presidents. There is a need for BRICS like never before, where voices of the street is heard. Humanity has lost past voices it was once proud of. Countries like America, United Kingdom, Germany, France, and others no longer qualifies to be part of the civilized world. They are now seen as the worst of mankind. After their position on events in Gaza, hot on the heels of the atrocities in Rwanda and Bosnia, no one wants to be an American, an Englishman, a German, or even a French. The presidents of these countries are vicious vampires, a term coined by one of the chairs of our portfolio committees. There are founders of BRICS like India that also says it's fine to kill the 30,000 women and children in Gaza by Christmas, like the Most Reverend Archbishop of the Anglican Church predicts. BRICS must give hope to the world, and I look forward to its first convention, providing for full employment of people living in BRICS countries. This is also Al-Jamal's election manifesto for South Africa in 2024 elections. South Africa must take the lead for full employment with the decent work of the ILO Convention for Decent Work. When President Mandela got the first annual award and Winnie Mandela the year after. BRICS is the hope of the streets in South Africa and the streets of its member countries. Al-Jamal looks forward to the BRICS Convention on full employment with decent work. The next generation jobs and new revenue streams is one of the future hopes with the help of BRICS. Then, of course, we're looking forward to a BRICS Convention on tax justice. It cannot be that 50% of South African GDP is lost through illicit financial flows and now through manipulation of the rand. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. And once again, thank you to the parliamentary team for organizing the Parliamentary BRICS Forum in Johannesburg.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hendricks. From the DA, the Honorable William Brandt.
Thank you. In September last year, a 22-year-old Iranian woman, Gina Amini, died while in police custody in Tehran. She'd reportedly been arrested by state police for wearing the improper hijab. There was widespread outrage to her death, and in response, demonstrations took place across Iran. The Iranian government clamped down on these demonstrations with brutal violence, and at least 476 people were reportedly killed, including many women and children. Iran has been roundly condemned by many countries across the globe for its leaders' retrogressive approach to the rights of women and girls, and its brutal clampdowns on these largely peaceful demonstrations. Yet, this ANC has seen fit to roll
Honorable Bryant.
Yep.
Would you please take a seat as a point of order? What's your point of order, Honorable Member?
Sorry, Honorable Chair, for interrupting my own member, but Rule 65 are quite clear that members are not to converse aloud and drown the speaker. And the ANC members are drowning my speaker instead of just acting.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member. We'll request members not to drown the speaker, either side. Proceed, Honorable Point.
Yet this ANC government has seen fit to roll out the red carpet and welcome the leaders of Iran into BRICS with broad smiles and open arms. This is the same ANC that professes to be very serious about upholding human rights and dealing with gender-based violence. Referring to Iran as progressive is absurd. Attending the conference, the Iranian speaker delivered a vitriolic rant against the West and NATO, while the ANC host smiled and applauded deferentially. Not everyone was enthusiastic about attending the conference, though. The ANC's favorite comrades in arms, Vladimir Putin's Russian delegation, who we've heard glowing tributes to from other members today as well, failed to even turn up in person, choosing instead at the last minute to participate via video call. To be fair, they didn't miss much. Apart from the disproportionately large...
Honorable members. Honorable members, please do not drown the speaker.
To be fair, they didn't miss much. Apart from the disproportionately large South African delegation of MPs and officials, the BRICS sessions were poorly attended and lacked any real debate or substantial discussion on key issues. Large swathes of seats reserved for international delegations remained empty for most of the conference, and this trend carried over to the extravagant gala dinner, which was just as poorly attended. It was clear that the ANC's bad timekeeping and haphazard organization had not gone unnoticed, and some delegates were visibly annoyed. The ANC really seemed determined to cement South Africa's spot as the junior partner in BRICS, and if the response from the other delegations was anything to go by, they certainly achieved their goal. But we have to ask, why is the ANC putting us through all this pomp, pageantry, and mutual backslapping in the first place? In recent years, roughly 77% of foreign direct investment into South Africa has not come from Russia, Iran, or Saudi Arabia, but from 3 important Western markets. These are countries that actually share our constitutional values and are committed to upholding the rights of all people, especially women and children. Why then is the ANC making such a huge effort to ingratiate South Africa into this expanded BRICS club, or whatever it's called, BRIC plus, BRICA, and embracing new entrants with such dubious backgrounds? We also have to ask whether the ANC is as enthusiastic as others in BRICS about de-dollarization and creating a common BRICS currency. This idea has been described as, and I quote, ridiculous by the man who first coined the term BRICS, international economist Jim O'Neill. He, along with many others, believe that the proposal is purely symbolic and will never get off the ground. Lots of talk without any real substance, which pretty much summed up the entire event. Hopefully, South Africans are not made to endure or to pay for this colossal waste of time and money ever again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bryant. The Honorable PM Hadebe from the ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. Now, FF Plus and DA are complaining about the inclusion of Iran, yet they are supporting Israel. This is hypocrisy of the highest order. But
But now we know that when people stand up, imperialism trembles. And right now the DA and FF Plus are trembling. They are afraid to condemn Israel because he who feeds you controls you. Now, Honorable Chair, allow me to premise my input with the following quote. May my eyes never see and my feet never take me to a society where half of the people are held in silence. I hear the roar of women's silence. That's Thomas Sankara. We are participating in this debate at the time when signs of hope are starting to emerge in the Middle East to bring an end to a deadly war on Gaza. We are hopeful that the aggression will stop, that the children of Gaza will enjoy their time under the sky and be free to play once again in the streets and enjoy their youth. The people of Africa, we have set ourselves an agenda for Africa to build Africa we want. The AU Agenda 2063 is Africa's blueprint and master plan for transforming Africa into a global powerhouse for the future. It is the continent's strategic framework that aims to deliver on its goal for inclusive and sustainable development and is a concrete manifestation of the Pan-African drive for unity, self-determination, freedom, progress, and collective prosperity pursued under the Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance. Honorable House Chair, in this regard, the people of Africa are advancing an integrated, prosperous, peaceful Africa driven by its own citizen, representing a dynamic force in the international arena. Once again, allow me to quote, we must learn to live an African way. It's the only way to live in freedom and with dignity. Once again, Thomas Sankara. The advancement of African agenda appreciates that as Africans, we will develop partnership with other countries of the world and further advance our agenda within the multilateral fora. Also that the developing countries of the South are currently facing socio-economic challenges, which includes poverty, inequality, and underdevelopment. The countries of the South are characterized as countries whose economies are largely based on primary economic activities of producing and supplying raw materials and commodities to countries of the North. In this regard, the South is the producer of primary commodities and the consumer of value-added products. This means that countries of the South will spend more of their resources to secure their value-added products from the North. This creates dependency and skewness in international trading architecture. Therefore, our membership and participation in the BRICS Plus countries should be understood within the context of advancing South-to-South agenda. My comrades have already elaborated more on the background of BRICS Parliamentary Forum and its objective, as well as BRICS within the context of integration of African continent, in particular, focusing on BRICS and Africa continental free trade. A lot of work has been done in the formalization of BRICS Parliamentary Forum, as already alluded to by my colleagues. The recent summit of BRICS Parliamentary held in Joburg, South Africa, made some very important salient undertaking that requires a positive role and contribution of BRICS parliaments. The summit met under the theme, Harnessing Inclusion, Multilateralism and Parliamentary Diplomacy to Deepen BRICS and Africa Partnership for Accelerated Implementation of Africa Free Trade. Amongst other things, the summit declaration made a call for the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in its three dimensions, economic, social, and environmental, in a balanced and integrated manner by mobilizing the means required to implement the 2030 Agenda. Furthermore, BRICS countries are committed to the strengthening of multilateralism based on upholding international law. including purposes and principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations and its indispensable cornerstone, and the central role of UN in an international system which sovereign states cooperate to maintain peace and security, advance sustainable development, ensure promotion and protection of democracy, human rights, fundamental freedoms for all, and promotion of cooperation based on spirit of solidarity, mutual respect, justice, and equality. The summit affirmed the centrality of BRICS Parliament. Through parliament diplomacy, we aim to enhance our strategic partnership for the benefit of our people, promoting peace and more representative and fairer international order, and reinvigorating and reformed multilateral systems, sustainable development, and inclusive growth. These critical commitments by BRICS parliaments requires that as legislators, we should ensure that we localize the agreements that were reached by BRICS nations. This means that our policy direction should be aligned to what the BRICS nations agreed on in practical ways through implementation. We are all in agreement that multilateralism, especially in the context of the UN, is under serious spotlight, more so in the face of ongoing wars on the continent, the Middle East and East Europe. The people of the world are starting to ask questions about the ability of the UN to secure international peace and stability. This calls on us to seriously look into the architects of the UN system, in particular the UN Security Council, with the representation and the veto rights. The veto right has been a tool that is used by powerful nations to advance their interests and thus frustrate the international efforts to secure international peace through a just and a fairer means. BRICS countries and its particular the BRICS Parliamentary should spare no efforts in advancing multilateralism and the reforms of the international fora to reflect the realities of the modern day international system. As we've said that the developing countries are facing socio-economic challenges, it is important that BRICS countries should work together for mutual accelerated growth. This is a critical more so in the aftermath of the COVID-19 that has negatively affected the economies of the most developing countries. For our part, we should ensure that we advance African agenda within the BRICS countries in a mutual beneficial way. There are some amongst the country and elsewhere in the world who argues about what they believe is inconsistency of South Africa in the execution of our foreign policy. Their argument are far from the truth. As a country, we have always been consistent with our foreign policy principle. We have always maintained that international disputes should be resolved within multilateral system in a peaceful manner. We have always called for countries at war to resort to negotiations to resolve their disputes. This call is consistent with our history of having taken the route of negotiation to end barbaric regime apartheid. The policy position of the ANC as it relates to Palestine is documented in our policy documents. We have been consistent in our solidarity with the people of Palestine. As Madiba puts it, that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the people of Palestine. This has been the consistent call on our policy position on the matter of Palestine. Therefore, anyone who argues that we speak on both sides of our mouth on foreign policy should take some time to learn our foreign policy and internalize them. We remain committed to the advancement of South to South agenda and in the international fora. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Adebe. The Secretary, that concludes the debate. The Secretary will read the second order.
Consideration of request for permission in terms of Rule 286 4C to inquire into amending other provisions of National Youth Development Agency Act 2008, Act number 54 of 2008.
Are there any objections to the committee being granted permission in terms of the rule 2864C to inquire into amending other provisions of National Youth Development Agency Act as it appears on the order paper? No objections agreed to. The Secretary will read the third order.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation.
I now recognize the Honorable the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I move that the report be adopted.
Thank you. Requests for declarations of vote have been received. I will now allow for up to 2 minutes. One member of each political party wishing to make a declaration an opportunity to do so. 2 minutes. The DA.
Thank you, Chairperson. We find ourselves in a very interesting position today. On the one hand, we today consider a report that claims that the department has achieved 92% of its strategic targets. On the other hand, we have the lived realities of South Africans as taps increasingly go dry. The discrepancy questions the validity of the report itself. To start, 71% of regional bulk infrastructure projects face delays due to poor planning, which has resulted in a ballooning budget cost of 9.4 billion rand. But this has contributed to exacerbating an already significant maintenance backlog. National Treasury recommends that we spend 8% of our budget on fixing maintenance. The department has only allocated 2%, making the situation vastly worse. The growing backlog in maintenance and refurbishment has reached an enormous 36 billion rand, of which the department at least, has only decided to spend 553 million to resolve, making the gap larger and larger. This is only a fraction of the recommended and frankly needed money that we need to turn around this. So it should be as no surprise that 42% of our bulk water infrastructure is deemed to be in poor condition. This then goes on to say that the challenges have resulted in water losses increasing by 4%, totaling 1,500 megaliters per day, costing 18.9 billion rand per annum, which costs us in terms of potential revenue, 29.7 billion rand in potential revenues. This not only impacts the financial health of our department, but quite frankly, it puts question onto the entire strategy that we're handling in this situation. Considering the continued failure to prioritize this issue and failure to recommend significantly focused steps to combat this water crisis, the Democratic Alliance will not be in a position to support this item.
Thank you. I now recognize the EFF. EFF. Honourable members, we shall pass and we are not going to be coming back. I now recognize the IFP.
Thank you, Chairperson. We understand that environmental and socio-economic factors such as climate change and urbanization certainly play a role in exacerbating our country's water crisis. However, we need to call a spade a spade. At the core of our water crisis is the government's lack of will to address our country's aging and dilapidated water infrastructure. Last year, the Auditor General of South Africa stated that the lack of water infrastructure maintenance had contributed to avoidable water losses and affected the reliable delivery of water. Once again, this year, the AGSA
please. No, please, just don't do it. You may proceed, Honourable Member.
Once again this year, the AGSA raised concerns regarding the fact that the department only spent 2.13% of the total infrastructure assets balance on repair and maintenance work, which is far below the National Treasury's prescribed 80% norms and standards for maintenance. Honorable Chairperson, there is a blatant display of apathy regarding the implementation of an action plan to address root cause issues such as infrastructure maintenance by the coordinating departments and entities under the leadership of the Department of Water and Sanitation, to such an extent that the committee is having to repeat some of the recommendations made in the previous financial year. This shows a clear lack of progress. South Africans deserve better treatment than this. Their needs deserve to be prioritized. Therefore, we call upon the Department of Water and Sanitation to address the fragile water infrastructure, and while doing so, to provide the committee with regular progress reports. The IFP accepts the report. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now recognize FF Plus.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chairperson. Die Vryheidsfront waarsku al sedert 2019 dat mense in Suid-Afrika gaan sterf as
Chairperson?
Yes.
Honorable Rebecca.
Chairperson?
Is it a point of order?
No, it's not the point of order. The EFF, network was off.
Okay. Honorable member, thank you very much for being delayed. We have gone past that, and I did indicate we are not coming back. Honorable member, FF Plus, you may proceed. Thank you very much.
Chairperson, my mic was off. I was trying to unmute myself and I could not
Honorable
even hear.
member,
It was a network problem. Can I speak, come in?
Okay, thank you. Your point are taken. I've made a ruling. We shall proceed, honorable member. Thank you very much.
Chairperson, can I please come? It was a network
ICT, can you help
problem.
me and mute the honorable member? No, ICT, mute the member, and may we proceed, honorable FF Plus.
Die Vryheidsfront Plus waarsku al sedert 2019 dat mense in Suid-Afrika gaan sterf as gevolg van honger en dors. Die waterkrisis in Suid-Afrika neem by die dag toe, maar die ANC-regering doen niks om dit te verhoed nie. In baie gevalle is daar genoeg water in die opgaardamme, maar geen water in die krane nie. Die oorsaak is 'n vervalle infrastruktuur wat nie behoorlik in stand gehou is nie. Die toepassing van herstellende aksie is die groot oorsaak vir die verval. Kundiges verlaat die land op soek na groener weivelde, terwyl ander na die privaat sektor uitwyk. Projekte sloer jare om afgehandel te word. Die werk aan die Klein Willem Dam duur al langer as 7 jaar en is nog nie ver van voltooiing. Daar is ook nie behoorlike beplanning vir die bou van opgaardamme nie, dit terwyl die bevolkingsgroei met 1 miljoen per jaar toeneem. Munisipaliteite het nie meer die nodige kundigheid nie en maak van privaat kontrakteurs gebruik wat nie die stelsel behoorlik verstaan nie. Ek het die Port Elizabeth lughawe Sondagoggend besoek en met skok verneem dat daar geen water beskikbaar is nie en was alle toilette buite werking. Indien die Nelson Mandela Metro nie voorsien is van water vanaf die Oranje rivier tydens die droogte nie, sou ons geen water gehad nie. Dit het weer eens die belangrikheid van die nooit gedag water en suiwerswerke in die metro beklemtoon is fase 3 na 'n lang gesloer net betyds voltooi. Die tragedie is dat daar nog nie eers begin is met die beplanning van fase 4 nie. In Limpopo is Polokwane en verskeie ander dorpe op die stadium sonder water en moet hulle gebruik maak van vragmotors om die water te versprei. Ander dorpe dwars oor Suid-Afrika sit met dieselfde probleem en in die meeste gevalle vind rioolstorting ook plaas. Ek dank u.
Thank you. I now recognize ACDP.
No declaration, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Swart. UDM. I guess we shall pass and no coming back. ATM.
On a point of order, House Chair.
It's your hand up, ma'am. Can I
Yes,
just
yes,
be
House.
assisted? The front table will assist me. Okay, no, your hand is not up, never mind, but you may speak because the point of order. Over to you, Honorable Natasha.
Thank you very much, House Chair. House Chair, I'd just like to apologize because earlier on my member wanted to speak, but her mic was muted.
and she alluded this to you. Can you please just give her a chance, since there are no other declarations, parties that are not making a declarations? I'm pleading to you, Honorable Mine.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Natasha. We really and honestly sympathize with the rationale. However, I have made a ruling and I can't then override my own ruling. We shall proceed on that note. Honorable Good.
No declaration, Chair.
Thank you. NFP.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Yeah, the National Freedom Party will support the report tabled here today, but we want to raise a few concerns that we have, Chairperson. First of all, being the state of the infrastructure countrywide leaves a lot to be desired. Now, we've allowed it over a period of time to be in a state of disrepair to such an extent that a lot of this infrastructure cannot be repaired anymore, which means you're going to have to put new infrastructure. If you take Iteguini municipality, number one, when I was a councillor there, I remember that our water loss was sitting at about 27%. It's now sitting at about 56%. So at any given time, more than half your water is being lost. Now, the department, this particular department, we've had a lot of problems with them. They've always got acting this manager and acting that manager. However, I think the problem has escalated to the extent that I think it's going to take a lot more than just capacity and money to be able to solve this. If you take KwaZulu-Natal, some of these municipalities there, and that is why I always raise the concern about KwaZulu-Natal, very little or no development has taken place in KwaZulu-Natal. People continue up to this very day, 30 years into democracy, walking 6 and 8 kilometers just to get some water, but political parties come into the south and brag, but can't even provide decent water. I'm proud to say that when my former leader, Zanele Magwaza Msibi, was here, she did everything in her power to improve the quality of life of the people in Zululand particularly. And that is why she earned such a reputation as a one for service provider. NFP will support this report, but given the fact that the state and conditions under which people live, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal, and money is being made, Chairperson, through tankers. Water tankers is where the corruption is coming. They give water tanker contracts to their friends. They get kickbacks from them, sustain themselves. And that is why there's so much of corruption and assassinations in KwaZulu-Natal. The NFP supports this report. Thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize AIC. AIC. COPE.
No declaration, Chair.
Thank you. PAC.
No declaration, Comrade Chair.
Thank you. I now recognize Al-Jamaa.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. Al-Jamaa supports this report. We cannot understand how the Freedom Front Plus, after preparing for South Africans, especially in the rural areas, to die of thirst, they now raise these concerns. They are responsible that we are in the water mess that we are now in. The Minister of Water Affairs is our new champion. We must support him. And Al-Jamaa is doing its best to try and assist to get the Umzumwubi Dam project in near Maclear going, because that will provide water for 1 million people in the former Transkei. They were the first to fight for our freedom and the last to get water in their taps. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now recognize ANC Honorable Tseke. Over to you, ma'am.
Mmuso wa democracy o ikemiseditse ho phethahatsa tokelo ya molaotheo ya metsi a hlwekileng a anwang le kgelelo ya leswe bakeng sa batho ba habo rona. The Department of Water and Sanitation and its entities have recorded improved audit outcomes. The department, TCTA, which is Trans-Caledon Channel Authority, and 2 catchment management agencies have achieved an unqualified audit opinion with findings for the year under review, while the Water Research Commission continued with a clean audit opinion. Honorable members, the DWS has been implementing more than 100 multi-year projects, and at least 11 of these projects have been completed. These regional bulk infrastructure projects, as implemented by the department, have contributed to the creation of at least 872 job opportunities for locals in the area where the projects are taking place. There are socio-economic spin-offs for the receiving communities, not only through job creation, but also through local SMME subcontracting from the main contractor. Honorable members, DWS is also implementing various construction projects for new infrastructure and the rehabilitation of existing water sanitation infrastructure through the grants transferred to various water services authorities. A total of 379 projects were under construction, with 102 projects being completed. We further welcome the commitment of the department to the transformation of the water sector. The department has allocated a percentage of its procurement spending to Black-owned small, medium, and micro enterprises. Furthermore, the department contributed to job creation by filling more than 800 vacancies in the year under review, which is quite significant for a single department to undertake in a single year. We must confirm that there is a political will in this department to implement the mandate as given by the electorates. There is stability within the administration as compared to previous years. There is a political stability in all the water boards as implementing agencies.
Thank you, Honorable Tseke. Your time
Ke a
is up.
leboga the African National Congress support this PRR. Thank you.
Honorable members, I put the motion again. Any objections? DA?
Please note the objection of the DA, Chair.
Your objection shall be recorded accordingly.
I was checking, you know, the objection of the EFF.
Honorable Natasha, your objections will be recorded accordingly.
And Chairperson, the objection of the FF Plus as well.
Okay, thank you, honorable members. Those objections shall be recorded accordingly. The motion is agreed to. The secretary will read the fourth order of the day.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies.
I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Chairperson, I move on behalf of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party that the report be adopted.
Thank you. Request has been made for declarations and the 2 minutes rule applies. Now I will recognize the DA. I guess you do have an article to make a declaration on the Bishop.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, while the department is said to have achieved 70% of its targets, immense deterioration has occurred this year. SAPO was provisionally liquidated in February and its debt to creditors has ballooned to 9 billion rand. While liquidated, SAPO still received 2.4 billion rand from National Treasury. Before COVID-19, there were 1,300 SAPO branches. Following the business rescue process, only 600 will remain. Before business rescue, an immense job loss already occurred. SAPO had around 11,000 employees. After this round, 5,000 employees will remain. The public broadcaster reported a 1.1 billion rand loss this year, having not turned a profit in more than a decade. It obtained a disclaimer audit qualification. It owes Centec 745 million rand. Its deterioration not only threatens itself, but other entities as well. The Post Bank reported a 2 billion rand loss. Also, it received a disclaimer audit opinion. The AG cited that it remains vulnerable to cyber breaches, and these have seen an increase in fraud. The Reserve Bank stated in 2021 that unless this is resolved, the Post Bank will be removed from the national payment system. This puts its banking license at risk and makes a joke out of the idea of a state bank. This is not a healthy department. It is sucking the fiscus dry, and we cannot support this report.
Thank you. I now recognize the EFF.
Thank you, House Chairperson. House Chair, the budgetary review report of the Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies reveals to South Africa a department characterized by impunity, corruption, and financial mismanagement, and a lack of direction in the majority of entities. Key entities such as the Post Bank, the SABC, and SAPO have registered massive revenue losses. The continued cry of the SABC failing to generate revenue because it's not developing compelling content is laziness that we must no longer accept. And we also disagree that the SABC ought to be commended for securing sub-licensing rights to the most recent major sporting events, meaning it has effectively surrendered itself to multi-choice. There's a joint failure when it comes to the SABC and the broadcasting regulator, ICASA, which has allowed the public broadcaster to dwindle into insignificance to the benefit of private broadcasters. The public broadcaster is on a financial freefall, reporting a 1.1 billion loss for the year 2022-2023. Regular expenditure amounted to 34.2 million at the SABC, and this is all while the buildings and facilities of the SABC are not maintained. When it comes to SAPO, it keeps getting worse. There's continuous fraud related to grant payment systems at SAPO as well as the Post Bank, and this results in constant incurring of losses by both of these entities. SAPO, of course, has been provisionally liquidated. 48% of its offices have been closed, and it's in massive debt to its creditors. We all know that the Post Bank is not living up to the example of being a model of what a state bank would be like in South Africa, and has already recorded irregular expenditure amounting to 165 million and wasteful expenditure amounting to 611,000 during this reporting year. We all know that even in 2021, 89.5 million worth of fraud occurred at the Post Bank. However, only 5 employees were dismissed, which means there's a lack of consequence management in that entity. The department is in disarray. There's no consequent management for irregular expenditure and mismanagement of funds. And if we don't make an intervention in 2024, the people of South Africa are going to result in a communication space that has no proper department overseeing it. The EFF does not support the budget report. Thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize FF Plus.
No, Chairperson, it will be the IFP. Oh.
I've noticed that. Let's allow, because I've just called them. My apology for that. FF Plus, and I know that the protocol doesn't allow, but I've already called them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, this department and its entities are in disarray, and the only way to actually solve the situation is to get rid of this department. It serves no function, and its entities should be privatized. The Post Bank is proof that a state bank won't work and is just a bottomless pit for taxpayers' money. This department and its entities proves that the ANC are not in any way governing responsibly, and we should get rid of the governing party to get the entities which should serve the South Africans out there, such as the Post Office, function. But with this government, the only way is to privatize and to get rid of these bottomless pits of taxpayers' money. The FF Plus does not support this report.
Thank you. Honorable Van der Merwe, my apology for that. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. I will read this declaration by the Honorable Majosi. House Chairperson, the Inkatha Freedom Party notes with concern that the entities of this department continues to struggle. Each year, the SABC and the Post Office deplete public funds, but present little to no tangible improvement in their state or function. This creates an undesirable situation wherein the bulk of this department's budget is set aside to rescue ailing entities rather than to cultivate innovation. As the world reaps the benefits of the fourth industrial revolution, South Africa is yet to work towards achieving an inclusive and competitive economy and digitally enabled society that effectively bridges the gap between the rich and the poor. This means that we are lagging behind our counterparts when it comes to AI, despite the prestige and skills we can contribute to this field globally. I would also like to point out the ignorance or perhaps hypocrisy of a government that wishes to have what it calls a digital transformed economy and society, but still requires physical and not digital delivery of applications to some of its departments. Moreover, the continuous struggles at the SABC, and again with the reported 1 billion rand loss, and the crisis at the Post Office, which negatively affects our grant recipients, is a crisis that we can no longer accept. The IFP accepts this report, Chairperson. I thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize ACDP.
No declaration. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. UTM. UTM. ATM. ATM. Good.
We have no declaration, Chair.
Thank you. NFP. NFP. AIC. COPE.
No declaration, House Chair.
Thank you. PAC.
No declaration, Chair.
Thank you. Al-Jama.
Al-Jama supports the report, Honorable House Chair. We also feel that we need a state bank. After the manipulation of our banks with regard to the rand and stealing our money and taxes and trying to make the South African government ungovernable because it's a black government. So there is a need for a state bank so that we can prevent regime change and we can prevent the captains of industry to assist designers and America to have regime change. They must wait for the election next year. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you. I now recognize the ANC.
Thanks, House Chair. In staying true to our commitment of bridging the digital divide and ensuring that we reach 80% of internet connectivity to the vast majority of the population of our country by the end of next year, 2024-2025 financial period. The department has completed phase 1 of South Africa Connect project, which saw 970 government facilities being connected and maintained. This includes clinics, rural schools, and community halls, and is now undertaking phase 2. We welcome that an allocation of 1.1 billion has been made for the 2023-24 financial period, as well as 1.9 billion for 2024-25. South African Connect project has been greatly beneficial to our people. The people of Mount Elif will attest that Centec Tower situated at Semakamaga Mountain is providing a clear line to 4 surrounding villages for internet connectivity. It has also provided employment opportunities for a total of 120 skilled, professional, semi-skilled labor force and contributed immensely to the general economic upliftment. Through the work of this government, households can now get unlimited access to internet to the tune of 249 rand per month and access data as low as 5 rand per 1 gig for a day. This gradually decrease in data cost respond to the outcry of the reduction of data cost in our country. However, we remain concerned of the slow progress in the BDM project as well as the slow turnaround. The mammoth challenges that are confronting some of our entities, such as SABC, South African Post Office. We want to commend the department and the Portfolio Committee for processing the SAPO Amendment Bill, Post Bank Limited Amendment Bill, SAB SOC Limited Bill, so as to effect the necessary changes that will augment the work of this organization so that they serve our communities better. The ANC supports.
Thank you. I put the motion again before the House. Any objections? The motion is agreed to. The Secretary will read the 5th order of the day.
Chairperson. Please, you asked, and please just note the...
No, I've passed, unfortunately. You may proceed, the Secretary.
Chairperson, sorry.
No.
You have to ask if there's any opposition, anyone opposes. You did not ask, Chair.
No, honorable members, no. Honorable Tseki, if I may, the chair has to listen to the member and also navigate with the member that yes, indeed, the chair, she did ask, and she looked here in the House, there was no indication. The chair has called the fifth order of the day, and we shall proceed. Thank you very much.
But point of order, you can't just look at the House. We're on the platform here. How do you know if we're objecting or not? We objected in our declaration. How do you do that?
Yes, Chairperson.
There's a virtual platform here.
Okay, thank you very much. Your points are noted. You should have raised your hand. There's a front table that assists the chair, and then there was no hands, and I shall proceed. Thank you so much. The Secretary, read the fifth order of the day.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies on Government Communication and Information System.
Thank you. Honorable members, before we proceed, I deliberately called parties for declaration twice. It could be very boring, but I have to do that. And the reason is so that anyone would have missed the first calling. And then in terms of the objections, I call them once, and that's an order I can't change. I'm not going to change it now and have another rule. But in terms of the member, you might be unmute or mute yourself unaware. That one is okay. But secondly, the front table, there are two gentlemen and a lady here that assist the chair to indicate if there are any hands up on the platform. If there is no indication, the chair then can't second guess for that. I shall proceed, honorable members. I now recognize order, honorable members. I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I move that the report be adopted.
Thank you very much. The requests, order, honorable members, order. Requests have been made for vote for declaration. I will now allow for up to 2 minutes. One member of each political party wishing to make a declaration, an opportunity to do so. But for completeness and consistency, now I recognize the DA. Thank you.
The DA notes that the government communications and information systems obtained a clean audit outcome, which is an improvement from the previous year. We also welcome the AG's emphasis that there is a need for consistent review and monitoring of internal controls by this entity. This in order to sustain the clean administrative systems. House Chair, according to the report, the GCIS will have to operate with 8 million rands cut in their budget for the next financial year. This because the National Treasury faces competing priorities that are placing a burden on the national fiscus. This House Chairperson is really unfortunate, especially considering that the GCIS has achieved 97% of its targets against the predetermined objectives. To maintain financially sound activities at the entity, the DA advises that this entity must exercise discretion and avoid unnecessary expenses, especially going into the national and provincial elections. We know that the governing party will want to abuse this entity, and Luthuli House will try and use the presidential events as a campaign activities so as to optimize the GCIS. House Chairperson, we call on the GCIS to start ditching any events where they are invited by the presidency to cover the president kissing babies, cutting ribbons, or opening single taps. Even avoid where he is delivering potentially IA-generated speeches. The DA calls on the Minister Gungubele to prioritize the appointment of the CEO of the GCIS and the MDDA.
Thank you. I now recognize the EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, House Chairperson. The Government and Communications and Information Systems is not facing a fate dissimilar to the doom confronting the Communications Department as a whole. Our greatest concern in this report is that it reflects the complete collapse of support for community media, a continued downward trajectory of budget allocations due to some nebulous other priorities by Treasury, and a lack of guidance by senior officials in the department on how to sustain and create stronger local community media. The Director General has been absent, basically absconding from the duties assigned to that office. There's a planned 8 million decrease in the budget for next year. We There has been a delay in the appointment of a CEO at the MDDA, despite interviews having been done. There's been a large exodus of staff at the MDDA as well, especially in the finance division, meaning financial support for community media, which will be critical as we head to the most important election in 2024, is under threat. This shows that there's no regard to provide a competent GCIS and local community media, because the GCIS is going to be turned into a political tool and weapon to campaign for the ANC president. We want to caution the GCIS not to go and cover the ANC president in his inspections of potholes and opening in taps and try and portray those as government initiatives. The EFF rejects this report. Thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize the IFP.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chairperson. I again make an input on behalf of the Honourable Majosi. House Chairperson, this department has an obligation to communicate government's programs and its so-called good news through various platforms, which is an almost impossible task given government's many failures, such as load shedding, crime, corruption, joblessness, and just general haplessness and mismanagement. Moreover, we remain concerned that government merely communicates but does not meaningfully engage with South Africans, much to the detriment of our people in townships, villages, and in deep rural areas. House Chairperson, this department needs to ensure that it fills all its funded vacancies and prioritize strong and meaningful collaboration with other departments to ensure a strengthened capacity. The IFP also remains concerned with regards to plans to spend 1 billion on a government TV. The question we have to ask ourselves is our government going to spend our taxpayer money on trying to polish up its tarnished and tattered image ahead of an election? And will the proposed TV channel not be competing with the SABC, who is already struggling and who is expected to make another 1 billion rand loss? GSI must not be used as a political tool for the ANC ahead of this election. Such madness cannot be allowed. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. I now order, honourable members.
Thank you.
Order, honourable members. I now recognize FF Plus.
No declaration, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I now recognize ACDP.
No declaration. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. UDM. UDM, you are recognized. Is that UDM, Honorable? Is that Thandiso? Okay. So don't show your name there then. UDM, ATM.
No declaration, House Chair.
Thanks, ma'am. Good.
No declaration, House Chair.
Thank you. NFP. NFP. We shall proceed. AIC. AIC. COPE.
No declaration, House Chair.
Thank you. PAC.
No declaration, Comrade Chair.
Thank you. Al-Jama.
No declaration, Chair.
Thank you, sir. I now recognize the ANC.
Thanks, House Chair. African National Congress commends the department for receiving a clean audit, unqualified without findings, outcome, which is improvement from the previous year. The department continues to play a critical role in empowering the citizens with timely, accurate, accessible information and fostering cohesion and national patriotism. The coordination of government communication remains important, and we welcome the department. We welcome the fact that the department has been making use of various platforms such as YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or X as it's now called, to communicate government programs and opportunities that our people can benefit from. The following on these platforms continues to grow. However, we are also alive to the reality that not everyone in our country has access to internet nor technological gadgets. Hence, it remains important that Vuk'uzenzele continues to be distributed its newspapers to communities in the far-flung parts of our country. This speaks to the essence of our government messaging that at all times we should ensure that we leave no one behind. Therefore, we welcome the department distributed 11.2 million copies of Vuk'uzenzele newspapers, published 23 online editions and 23 braille editions over the past financial year. That being said, Honorable Chairperson, would like to equally register our concern on the regression of the MDDA. The entity received qualified audit opinion indicating a significant regression in the audit outcome relating to the financial statement and compliance with the laws and regulations. It is also with concern that we know the challenges that have been experienced by community radio stations, which has resulted in some of them closing down due to the exorbitant signal distribution cost and lack of resources. The mandate of the MDDA to facilitate ownership, control, access to information and content production of the community media by historically disadvantaged communities remains pivotal. The ANC supports the report.
Honorable members, I put the motion again before the House. Any objections?
Yes, Chairperson, before it slips through so quickly again, please do note the objection of the Democratic Alliance.
It shall be recorded accordingly.
The objection of the EFF.
Honorable EFF, Honorable Tambo.
Yes, the objection of the EFF, please note it.
EFF objection shall be recorded accordingly. Okay, we shall, the motion is agreed to, honorable members. We shall proceed. The secretary will read the sixth order of the day.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation.
Thank you. I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you so much, House Chair. I move that the report be adopted.
Thank you. Honorable members, an opportunity for declaration have been sourced and 2 minutes rule applies. I now recognize the DA from the virtual platform or in the House physically.
DIRCO intends revising the African Renaissance Fund Act and establish a new organization called the South African Development Partnership Agency, SADPA. The ARF, initially created to support African economies, has been misused by the ANC, including the improper allocation of funds to Cuba. Fortunately, due to a High Court ruling, an additional 50 million rand of South African ratepayers' money for Cuba was prevented from being squandered. The creation of SADPA raises concern about the potential for the ANC government to once again divert funds away from addressing the needs of impoverished South Africans to their struggle comrades. This department cannot carry out its own mandate successfully. For example, the Aegis report, in spite of the department misleading the portfolio committee, was critical of the fact that the department were paying 2 ICT companies for the same scope of work, incurring fruitless and wasteful expenditure. The total irregular amount of this expenditure on this contract as of 31st March 2023 amounted to 569 million. The failure to secure the basics in the upgrading of the ICT abroad led to the delays and highly embarrassing situation that our German embassy were issuing handwritten visas. The recent Supreme Court of Appeal judgment on the New York pilot project further emphasized the lack of accountability by the department heads, citing that the steering committee unilaterally changed the scope of the tender from DIRCO being the lessor to the owner. This report highly condemned the actions of both.
Honorable member, 1 second. There's a hand on the virtual platform. Honorable Papo, your hand is up.
House Chair, I just wanted to plead with the members to take a question on his right-wing views.
Okay. Honorable member, are you prepared to take a question?
Yeah, Chairperson, if the honorable member wants to speak.
No. Can you?
No, I'm not.
Okay, can you stand up so that you can say it on the mic?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. But next time, don't just sit and then respond, because I was asking you, I was expecting you to stand up.
Oh,
it can be highly appreciated to do that.
So can I continue?
Proceed.
The failure to secure the basics in the upgrading of the ICT abroad led to the delays and highly embarrassing situation that our German embassy were issuing out handwritten visas. The Supreme Court of Appeal's judgment on the New York pilot project also condemned the Bid Adjudication Committee and the Bid Evaluation Committee, stating that they were compromised in supporting the Gupta-linked tender for the 180 million rand New York pilot project. Also, our ambassadors continue to embarrass the country on an international stage, and it's time that the appointments of ambassadors should be reviewed, as the current system of cadre deployment isn't assisting us. The department has failed miserably in carrying out their mandates, yet they have the audacity to overreach and engage with the scope of traditional leaders, a responsibility of COCTA. It's very clear that this is merely an election gimmick in the run-up to next year's 2024 national elections. This department's incompetence knows no boundaries. The DA does not support this report. I repeat, Madam Chair, we do not support the report, in case you don't register that.
Honourable members, I now recognize the EFF.
Chairperson, for a very long time, we've been arguing that our foreign policy must be anchored on the fundamental values of our own nation and not to be dictated to by the imperial West. Had we done this consistently over the past few decades, we could have not been party to killing of Colonel Muammar Gaddafi by the US and their dogs of war, NATO. The EFF is, however, pleased with the recent posture when it comes to the foreign policy. On the US and NATO initiated war between Ukraine and Russia, you correctly refuse to condemn Russia for taking steps to defend the senseless expansion of NATO. Even under extreme pressure from the West, we refuse to let these imperialists determine who our friends and enemies ought to be. On the recent genocidal acts by Israel on Palestine, the country's position is also rooted on the need for justice for Palestinian people. We have rightly condemned Israel's US-backed indiscriminate killing and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people in their own land. The motion we led in Parliament for the removal of the Israel embassy and the cutting of the diplomatic ties with the apartheid state of Israel demonstrated that the working is in unison in pursuit of progress, progress ideals can be done in the country. However, more still needs to be done. We need to pursue more progressive ideals in the African continent to empower the AU and regional structures such as the SADC, so that these structures are not merely toothless structures, not only toothless structures for the protection of rogue regimes. We are in support of the budgetary review and recommendation report. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. I now recognize the FF Plus Speedy Recovery.
Oh, sorry, House Chairperson, it's the IFP.
IFP.
I don't know what happens. It's the speedy recovery, I guess. Over to you, Honorable.
Honorable Slengwa is on the virtual platform.
Okay. Honorable Slengwa, over to you.
The report under consideration states that both financial and non-financial performance by the department in the reporting year has been commendable. Yet the same report reveals that the Auditor General raised a concern that there is a notable increase in the levels of irregular expenditure in the department at 1.44 billion rands. It further reveals that the AG was unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that disciplinary steps were taken against officials who had incurred irregular and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. When it comes to our overseas missions, meant to represent the best of South Africa has to offer, the report confirms what was revealed in the recent oversight visits, which says dilapidated hardware is being used in the missions, and this results in slow operations or inability to perform certain functions. Further, compliance with SCM prescripts remained a challenge for the department, mainly at our missions. Underspending is highlighted as an issue across programs with initiatives such as the South African Development Partnership Agency that has taken almost 15 years to come to fruition. In addition, it appears that while the department cannot spend its full budget on authorized transactions, it also cannot follow the SCM processes meant to curtail unauthorized spending. Yet, despite all this, the department is commended for managing to achieve 96% of the planned targets on its key programs. As the IFP, we are concerned that the issues that have been mentioned now, including billions of irregular expenditure, failing IT infrastructure, as well as lack of consequence management, are viewed as commendable. The irony could not be more pronounced. While the department is receiving praise for achieving almost 100% for its targets, it is very clear that there is a deep disconnect between these targets and the department's actual performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Slengwa. I now recognize the FF Plus. FF Plus. Thank you. ACDP. ACDP.
We have a declaration, Chair. Reverend Meshra.
Honorable Swart, you don't have a declaration. Thank you very much. That's what you are saying. Oh, you'll make a declaration.
No, Chair. My point was we have a declaration. My apologies.
Okay, no, that's fine. Honorable Mishra, I'm told that you are going to do the declaration.
Yes, ma'am.
Honorable
The
Moshe, before you
ACDP is
proceed,
relieved.
Honorable Moshe, before, I will appreciate if there is nobody that introduces you. If you are going to speak, you just indicate, then you'll be afforded the opportunity. Thank you very much.
The
Thank you,
ACDP is relieved to see the truce between Israel. May I continue, ma'am?
Yes, Mruti, you may.
All right, thank you. The ACDP is relieved to see the truce between Israel and Hamas that invaded their country and kidnapped more than 200 Israelis and some foreign nationals is holding. We welcome the release of some hostages, including South Africans. It is now a known fact from various reports that there were many innocent people that were killed in the process and some women brutally raped. What was even more shameful was to see the wounded and bleeding victims being paraded in the streets and some people celebrating. And I want to appeal to the ANC to prevail upon Hamas, their close trusted friend, to release all hostages and allow the Red Cross to visit and take note of the conditions under which they are kept, particularly that of the women and children. Israel Chai. One of the challenges that this Committee of International Relations has been having for a few years now is the lack of transparency in the department. A case in point is the circumstances around the suspension of former Director General Mahwai from office. Until today, we don't have facts and we are speculating now. What the committee expected to happen was for action to be taken against Mr. Mahwai's predecessor after it became apparent that there has been some wrongdoing during his tenure as DG. Now the question is, why has nothing been done? And we want to know whether Mr. Mahwai has become the fall guy, or is he suffering now, or has he been dismissed because
Thank
of
you
the
very much, Honorable Mruti. The time is up. Thank you very much. UTM?
Thank you.
Okay. UTM? ATM? ATM? Good.
We have no declaration, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. NFP, I recognize Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. My colleague from the ACDP is trying to do a good job trying to mislead the people in this country as to what is happening there. After you come to the beautiful land of Palestine with its beautiful Mediterranean Ocean, you steal their land, you forcefully remove them, you blow up the hospitals, the clinics, you killed innocent babies and women, you flatten the houses, and he comes here because his life depends on a vote in this country, which depends on dividing our people based on religion, and he comes to try and defend the barbaric state of the Zionist Israel. Now, let me start off by saying the National Freedom Party welcomes this unqualified audit opinion. Am I supposed to sit, Chairperson?
Please do. Honorable Swart, is that a point of order?
Yes, it is, House Chair. I rise on point 85, and I would ask you to rule. The member is casting aspersions on the leader of the ACDP, Reverend Meshwe. He says, you are doing this, which is a direct reference to Reverend Meshwe, and I would ask that you rule that he withdraws those assertions against Reverend Meshwe. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable members, I would like to caution that you don't reflect to any member of the House indirectly or directly. But it's a point of debate, but we must just avoid to do such. You may proceed, Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Honorable Chairperson, these are the very same people that want to support the very same people that claim to have killed their own savior, their own Lord, their own leader. And what would they do it for? Just for 30 silver coins. For what? So the DA the IFP, the ACDP, and the Freedom Front are selling their souls for the very same 30 silver coins that their leader, their savior, was killed for, which they brag about. So there is 30 silver coins. I give it to you all. Take it and sell your souls. Sell your souls and sell your leader, your savior that you brag that is your savior and leader. That is how disgusting you are, that you can't even respect your leader. Somebody that killed your leader and you want to defend and protect those people. It is a shame. There's your 30 silver coins for what you have given your savior away. And that's exactly what you're doing in the state of Israel right now. That 30 coins is what you are worth. Thank you very much. The NFP supports this.
Maybe you should go part in Gaza.
Order, honorable members, a point of order.
Chairperson, with due respect, our constitution is very clear that we have freedom of religion in this country.
Okay. Point taken and a point of debate.
But House Chairperson, also on a point of order, the Honorable Sheikh Imam threw coins at us. You're not allowed to take props to the podium. You must ask the permission of the House Chairperson first. And then I think it's unparliamentary that he threw us with coins.
No, Honorable Member. Honorable members, can you assist here? I can't hear the
30 coins to sell your leader.
No, now everybody, you are making the chair to be difficult to make a ruling because all of you are assisting and you are not helping the House to be in order.
Honorable Sheikh Imam is correct.
Honorable Chair.
You are out of order to say intervene.
No, Honorable
ACDP Judas Iscariot.
No. Honorable members, you know what we are going to do? We are going to mute all of you, those ones that have just raised their voice without being recognized until the end of the day, if you continue doing that. Honorable members, I take the point that has been raised by Honorable van der Merwe. Honorable Sheikh Imam, you know it better in terms of the rules that whatever object that you bring before the podium, you must seek permission of the chair, and you didn't do that. I will request you, because the coins I'm advised are still on the floor, that you apologize for the coins, if you may. There's only one presiding chair in this
That's
house.
the kind of person he is.
Chairperson, I didn't hear they were making a noise as usual.
No, the point I'm driving at, Honorable, I'll leave aside the point of debate, right?
Yes.
You have brought objects
Okay.
to the podium, and that object, you threw it on the floor, is still there.
Yeah.
And the chair is directing you to apologize on that. Later on recess, on break, you are going to take your coins. Can you?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I will pick up those coins because they gave the savior away for 30. I apologize, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Order, honorable members, AIC. Order, honorable members, AIC. We shall proceed. Honorable Cope.
No declaration, Chair.
Thank you. PAC.
Chair, PAC, there's no declaration, but we support everything that Sheikh Imam has done, including throwing off the coin. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Al-Jama. Al-Jama. We shall proceed, honorable members. I recognize the ANC. While the ANC is moving towards the podium, I'll request the ANC at my right-hand side to use that chair like any other members that are using this chair this side. Thank you very much. You may proceed, honorable member.
No, how, Chair. Chairperson, we want to commend the department for achieving an unqualified audit. 96% of its targets have been reached. What we are going to request the minister to do is to ensure that more focus is given to managing the missions of South Africa abroad. The ARF chairperson, and we want to put it here unambiguously clear, African Renaissance Fund. no amount of targeting of Cuba and obstreperosity from the side of the DA is going to defocus the ANC from assisting Cuba following the processes of our country of the law. Because we and Cuba were in the struggle together because you came here and oppressed Black people. You did not see Black people as human here. So nobody is going to separate us with Cuba. We are going to work with them and assist them where necessary, following the law. We also, Chairperson, want to commend the BRICS leadership for making sure that they convene as they convened last week to condemn the actions that are taken by Netanyahu and his cabinet on the Palestinian people. It is genocidal, it cannot be accepted, and we want to commend Egypt and other countries like Qatar, who have heeded the call of working together under the auspices of the United Nations to make sure that there's passage for food, assistance, humanitarian relief for the people of Palestine. We move for the adoption of the report.
Thank you. Oh, okay, let me take this one. I'll come back to you. Thank you very much. We are on the seventh order, yes. Let me just put the motions again. Are there any objections?
Yes, Chairperson.
Chair, can you note the objection of the EFF?
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you.
And the AC,
DA, yes.
the ACDP, thank you.
ACDP, yes. Thank you very much. With those objections.
Please, note the objection of the DA.
I mentioned it also, Honorable Faba. You didn't hear me, sorry. Eh? Oh, no, maybe let me correct this. Honorable members on the platform, it would be better if you allow your members that are in the house to do the objections, because we have a process of doing this, so it becomes disturbing when you just shout from there when you have members here who can do it easily. Thank you very much. As we proceed now, the report is agreed to. Can we now get the seventh order?
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Human Settlements.
Thank you very much. May I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party?
Chairperson, I move on behalf of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party that the report be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's been a request for declaration. May I recognize the DA?
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Human Settlements, one of the country's most crucial frontline service delivery departments, has been destroyed for the 13 million South Africans still living in informal settlements. The suffering continues, and we cannot be mistaken as to why it continues. Despite the human settlements budget increasing by almost 8% from the 2014-2015 financial year to the 21-22 financial years, the number of housing units built annually decreased from 94,000 to 28,000 during the same period, which is a 70% reduction. Although the budget increased, the quality of units is decreasing, with some units needing to be demolished for not meeting the minimum standards. The 2023 human settlement budget forecasts only 60,000 housing units being constructed annually over the next 3 years. If housing units continue to be constructed at this rate, it will take 38 years to construct 2.3 million houses, which is just the backlog from 2019 and does not take into account the 180,000 units that are being added to the housing backlog each year. The department continues to underperform in the delivery of the Breaking New Ground housing units, the PDA programs, and informal settlement upgrading programs. At this stage, it simply has no workable plan to deal with the challenge of construction mafias who continue to infringe on the rights of citizens. We further note the department has failed to adequately manage the beneficiary list. This comes as the DA has called numerous times for the fast tracking of lifestyle audits initiatives to root out corruption and bribery, to ensure consequence management for those who are involved in corruption and bribery. The department remains a hub for wolves draped in black, green, and gold, waiting anxiously for the housing projects to be announced, eagerly rubbing their hands together, salivating at the mouth at the prospects of another R1 billion headed their way, R1 billion that will be divided up between incompetent cadres with little going
Thank you
to the
very
people.
much.
Thank you.
The EFF. I think the Honorable House Chair just said it about the chairs next door. So that
Apology,
when
Chair.
you are going to speak, please come up this side. Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, South Africa is on the precipice of a housing disaster, and our leaders are fiddling while the country may explode any moment from now. There are currently over 2.5 million families in need of housing, and at the rate at which we are going, the number will grow every year, while the capacity of the state to provide the housing needs of population diminishes each passing year. In the next 7 years, our population is expected to reach 65 million people, and most of this growth will be in already congested areas. At the moment, we have no plan for this population explosion. We have not made a single investment towards resolving our population growth and housing needs scenarios, perhaps because we have no idea how to fix present crisis of housing in this country. The state, aided by conservative civil society movements and racist municipal administrations, such as the one in Cape Town, resort to criminalizing the desperation of our people for homes without ever providing solutions to the crisis faced by the majority of our people. To them, being poor equates to being a criminal. This housing crisis is made worse by the fact that a large group of people are excluded from benefiting from government housing schemes because they earn more than the required amount that would make them qualify for subsidies, whilst not earning enough to qualify for bond housing. They don't earn enough to buy their own homes too. So this segment of the population is stuck and may be required to rent into perpetuity. Linked to this crisis is the crisis of farm workers and farm dwellers. The EFF rejects the report.
Thank you. IFP.
Thank you, Chairperson. First and foremost, the IFP would like to urge the Department of Human Settlements and its entities to dedicate themselves to achieving a clean audit in the upcoming financial years. Achieving only 58% of self-imposed performance targets shows that there is a serious lack of planning and monitoring of projects that the department will have to address. We want to commend the Minister for urging the Special Investigating Unit to probe projects that are affected by poor performance, as contractors who are under delivering or who abandon projects cannot be left without facing consequences. With that in mind, we have to highlight the underperformance in the delivery of Breaking New Ground housing units and the informal settlements upgrading program. The department must ensure that they always aim to make the best of the resources afforded to them, and underperformance in the provision of houses indicates that the resources are not being maximally utilized. Bearing this in mind, the IFP would also like to focus the Minister's attention on social housing agencies in KZN that are deliberately evicting tenants that have fallen into areas after COVID. Considering that this is only happening in KZN, we would like to ask for clarity on why only these people are being evicted and what measures the department has in place to address these practices. In conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, ensuring that every South African has a roof over their head and a warm place to sleep should be at the top of the department's priority list, rather. It should not be something our people plead for year in and year out. The IFP accepts the report. I thank you.
Thank you. FF Plus.
Dankie voorsitter. Die doel van die Departement van Menslike Nedersettings is om behoorlike en volhoubare behuising te verskaf. Dit is egter onmoontlik om die oprigting van plakkershutte te verhoed, omrede verstedeliking die afgelope jare skerp toegeneem het. 'n tweede probleem is natuurlik die invloed van mense uit Afrika, aangesien hulle op soek is na werksgeleenthede in Suid-Afrika. Die staat belê groot bedrae geld aan infrastruktuur en van die 232 miljard is slegs 4 miljard se projekte reeds voltooi. Die Vryheidsfront Plus sal egter graag wil sien dat daar meer geld beskikbaar gestel moet word vir laagkoste behuising, aangesien dit 'n groot rol kan speel in die opheffing van mense. Die plakkers gaan plak op enige grond en verwag die munisipaliteit moet onmiddellik dienste verskaf. Dit gee daartoe aanleiding dat die paaie gebrand word en mense laat by hulle werk opdaag wat tot groot ekonomiese verliese lei. Om die probleem op te los het die Vryheidsfront Plus in 2019 'n versoek aan minister Sisulu gerig om 'n opname te maak oor die hoeveelheid staatsgrond om die metro's. 3 maande later kondig die minister aan daar 14.000 hektaar staatsgrond beskikbaar is. Die grond moes van landbou na behuising ontkoppel word. Die verslag toon dat die departement van openbare werke dit in 'n rekordtyd afgehandel het. Dit gee die geleentheid vir stadsbeplanners om vooruit te beplan en kan die onwettige besetting van grond voorkom word. Ons sit ook met 'n ander probleem. Die bevolkingsaanwas in Suid-Afrika is hoër as ons ekonomiese groei en voorsien die Vryheidsfront geen oplossing vir die plakkersprobleem in Suid-Afrika nie. Die meeste van die mense in die plakkershutte leef onder haglike omstandighede en wil ons almal sien dat die situasie moet verbeter. Ek dank u.
Baie dankie. ACDP.
No declaration. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. UDM. ATM. Good.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, South Africa has one of the largest and most ambitious public housing programs in the world, but our housing program is not working. Firstly, it's simply not enough. And secondly, the effect of housing projects has been to entrench apartheid spatial divides by building housing in low-cost, underdeveloped areas far from economic opportunities. Good's position is that city space, services, and resources should be used and allocated fairly with the provision of certain services weighted towards those who need them most. So the numbers may seem impressive at first glance, but they are actually misleading. The target-chasing approach to housing delivery in line with tight fiscal parameters has meant that the fundamental issue of eradicating apartheid segregation has been left behind. We're not creating human settlements, we're creating suburbs of poverty, and we're entrenching poverty and exclusion. In any event, even our target-chasing approach has all but collapsed over the MTSF period from 2019 to date. Over the past 4 years, we've delivered only 115,000 B&G houses, being 48% of our target. We've delivered only 184,000 service sites, 77% of our target. Our gap housing subsidy, renamed from FLISP to First Home Finance, only reached 5,800 households across the entire country in the last financial year. And we only managed to deliver 2,127 social housing units with our cumulative performance in the MTSF period, which a crucial spatial integration project reached only 54% of our target. According to the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation, no informal settlements were upgraded to phase 3 and 0% of our MTSF target has been achieved over the past 4 years. As the Auditor General noted, the impact on the citizens is a lack of basic housing and lack of security of tenure, which further impacts on the dignity of citizens and exacerbates the challenges of spatial planning that are plaguing the country, such as social unrest and inequality. In conclusion, Chair, there's an urgent need to reconfigure our public housing program.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. NFP. AIC. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me start off by saying, Chairperson, Thousands of houses are being demolished in Gaza as we speak here today. So apartheid is not only alive in Palestine, but also here in our own land. Whilst this department may not have performed very well, achieving 27 of its 39 targets, let's look at apartheid, what it was and where it is today. Let me start off by what has happened in the city of Cape Town the other day. Your freedom has now been taken away. They've already re-implemented apartheid. You can't wear a Palestinian flag and walk in the city of Cape Town anymore. You cannot wear a T-shirt and you're blaming the South African police services. It's not, but they got instructions from the city of Cape Town, the law enforcement that were behind it. Number two, let me tell you, you are correct when you say housing is crucial. But you didn't understand it was crucial when you underspent. Go and look at the latest report, how you've underspent on housing in this city of Cape Town. That's why more and more people are becoming homeless. Let me remind you something else. A couple of years ago, you failed to spend your entire urban settlement development grant. You failed to do that, the city of Cape Town. You're a disgrace. Let's go to KwaZulu-Natal. Did you know, Chairperson, not a single family in KwaZulu-Natal that are on the Ingonyama Trust land own their homes. They have no rights. They have no title deeds. They have absolutely nothing. So what is the difference between the apartheid and up to now? They have absolutely no rights. And those people are being misled into believing that they care about them. No, they don't. Give those people the right and the ownership of their homes.
Don't worry, proceed. I'll rule on Honorable Sengwa because he's wasting your time. I'm giving
the fact of the matter is this, they have absolutely no ownership and rights and title deeds of this.
Thank you very much.
Controlled by a
Time
handful
is
of
now
people.
up.
So
Thank
don't
you.
come out here and grandstand. The NFP supports this report. Thank you.
Honorable Songwa. Honorable Songwa, what you did now is just out of order. You don't do that.
Apologies, House Chairperson.
Honorable, thank you. We proceed, AIC. Cope.
Declaration.
Yes. Honorable Water.
No declaration, Chair.
Thank you very much. PAC.
No declaration, House Chair.
Al-Jama, thank you. Al-Jama. The ANC.
Thank you, Chairperson. We support the review and recommendation reports of the department and its entities, notable advances and success during the year under review. The department overall performed well in the year under review, surpassing the previous year's performance of 58, now at 69%. We gallop, Chairperson, as we move forward with the masses of our people. The department audit outcome has maintained an unqualified audit opinion, with findings on compliance. We are encouraged by the steps taken by the department and its entities. Listen to this one, a DA. ANC-led government has in this financial year under review acquired a state building in Cape Town against the wishes of the racist Democratic Alliance government to convert them into social housing for the working class and the poor, which demonstrates its commitment to destroying apartheid special planning. Further, the department, through its National Housing Finance Corporation, managed to provide more than 5,800 for the first time home buyers who are earning between 3,000 and 29,000. This is a commitment that today will be better than tomorrow, better than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better than today. Chairperson, the African National Congress supports this budget review, and we are saying, free Palestine,
Thank
Free Palestine.
Thank you. Your time
Free
is now up.
Palestine.
Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. Order. Honorable members. Oh, sorry. May I now ask if there are any objections to the report?
Thank you, Chairperson. Please note the objection of the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. You can note the rejection of the report by EFF.
Thank you. With
Please
those
note that, from the platform, the ACDP objection. I apologize for interrupting, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Swart, your hand is up. There's no problem. We agree to that. With those objections, the report is thus agreed to. Thank you very much. Honorable members, I will now suspend proceedings until 14 hours. Bells will be rung to alert members to the resumption of business. Business is now suspended. Thank you.
Long live the chair.
Recording stopped.
Shaky, where's the coins, please? Where's Shaky?